Okay, I got the Desert Storm set here. All 300 cards. Series 1, aircraft, ships, armor, weapons, and troops. Look at the back. That's it. Weird cards. They kind of like pop off. Oh, they are popped off. Troops, Stormin Norman and King Fahd. Surveying the troops, Allied Field Commander Schwarzkopf and Saudi Arabia's King Fahd survey the ground troops assembled in the Saudi Arabian desert. The troops were first assembled as part of Operation Desert Shield, action taken to protect Saudi Arabian oil fields from the greedy hands of Saddam Hussein. Over 700,000 ground troops were ultimately assembled. Fahd and his countrymen proved themselves to be willing and helpful hosts to the United Nations coalition forces, as well as dedicated fighters preserving their country's independence. Troops deploy. American soldiers disembarking from one of the many giant C-5A troop carrier cargo planes that ferried them 10,000 miles and more to the Saudi Arabian desert. In this unfamiliar land, they were to apply their skills learned at bases all over the US. Nearly 500,000 American troops were assembled, joined by infantrymen from many other coalition countries to pack the wallop that would be needed in a ground offensive to drive Hussein's forces out of Kuwait. Deck crew. Many crews like these were busy day and night during the early days of Operation Desert Storm on the heaving, dangerous decks of aircraft carriers. The job was to get the awesome A-6E fighter bombers called Intruders to the launch point. Amidst the deafening roar of the jet engines, concentration and coordination are vital. The carrier decks ablaze with the fire of takeoff. Every man's job must be carried out with efficiency and precision to ensure protection launch after thunderous launch. Live fire. Live fire. Army infantrymen practiced for months to learn the techniques of laying down fast, accurate fire. Here in the desert battlefields of the Persian Gulf area, their lives and the lives of their comrades rely on how well those lessons were learned. Should the ground war come, the M16s bring to the US troops some of the most deadly reliable firepower the individual soldier can carry. Should they be called on, these troops are combat ready. Combat patrol. A solitary patrol sets out across the trackless desert terrain, the hot sun overhead, the parched sands beneath their feet, and the unknown enemy out there create an eerie setting for brave US soldiers. In this lonely duty of patrol, vigilance is most important, spread out in staggered formation, always watching the horizon and his buddies back. The soldier from America learns the lessons of preserving our freedoms. I don't know how they're preserving our freedoms in Saudi Arabia. Howitzer crew. The howitzer performs a monster task in the event of hard-pitched land battle, working in synchronized teams. The howitzer crews rhythmically load and fire the shells that will pound away at the entrenched enemy. Great courage and teamwork are critical. Selected men are trained and retained in the use of this precision instrument of war. It's men such as these that President Bush was referring to when he spoke of his pride in the all-volunteer army that's more than capable of doing the job. General H. Norman Schwarzkopf, Allied Field Commander Operation Desert Storm. Nicknamed Stormin Norman and more affectionately the Bear, this career military man is known as superb strategist and a brilliant tactician. He's regarded by fellow officers as being tough as nails and a real troop handler. Schwarzkopf is a 4-star general and a graduate of West Point. He served 2 tours of duty in Vietnam as a junior officer, distinguishing himself many times in battle. He received 2 Purple Hearts for sustaining injuries in the line of duty. His job to outthink, outmaneuver, and outfight the really unpredictable Saddam Hussein. General Powell. General Colin L. Powell, Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff. General is the highest ranking military official in the United States. He reports directly to President Bush, the Commander-in-Chief of all U.S. Armed Forces. This self-made career military man rose through the ranks, starting out as an ROTC graduate. He was awarded a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star in service in Vietnam. He served as battalion commander in Korea, held key offices in the Pentagon, and headed the National Security Council's Policy Review Group. A close friend says Powell that his only ideology is belief in his country and public service. Saddam Hussein, President of Iraq. Saddam Hussein was born to a poor family. He became politically active in high school and at the age of 22 was an assassin for the Arab Nationalist Ba'ath Party. Hussein seized control of his country's government and surrounded himself with only those who agreed with him. In Iraq, the penalty for insulting the president is death. The ruthless leader had 20 men executed by firing squad in 1980 for disloyalty. On August 2, 1990, his forces invaded the tiny country of Kuwait, Iraq's neighbor. A United Nations resolution called for Hussein to withdraw. He refused. Operation Desert Storm was launched to show this ruthless man who would rule the Arab world that he could not ignore the risks of the civilized world. George Herbert Marshall Bush, president. George Bush was elected the 41st president of the United States in 1988. Commissioned as an ensign in 1943, George Bush was the Navy's youngest pilot. Lieutenant Bush received the Distinguished Service Flying Cross for heroism in a battle during which he was shot down. Mr. Bush served as our ambassador to the United Nations. He headed the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, and was Ronald Reagan's vice president for 8 years. When Saddam Hussein forces invaded tiny Kuwait on August 2, 1990, Mr. Bush initiated Operation Desert Shield to protect Saudi Arabia. A coalition of 22 nations under the leadership of the United States attacked Baghdad on January 17, 1991, launching the battle to enforce Hussein's compliance with the UN resolution for the liberation of Kuwait. Flight crew, thousands of eager young airmen trained for the time their country would need them. This flight crew has just landed their Prowler. This sophisticated aircraft does a big job jamming electronics and radar gear of enemy ground installations. This jamming prevents the enemy from detecting US and allied aircraft overhead, eliminating the threat of surface-to-air SAM missiles. These flight crews are the first crews into enemy airspace and continuously place themselves in harm's way in order to make the skies safe for our fighters and bombers. Lieutenant General Charles A. Horner, leader of Coalition Command's Air Forces. General Horner is called the architect of the air war against Iraq. He tallied over 4,500 combat hours in modern fighters such as the F-4, F-15, and F-16. The general, known as a real gung-ho individual, flew 111 combat missions over Vietnam. He is an ace. Horner's coordination of the air attacks on Baghdad and other Iraqi cities proved extremely effective. He used a whole arsenal of the latest fighter bomber technology, including the super secret stealth F-117A. Coalition air forces were able to reduce the Iraqi Communications Command headquarters and transportation systems to less than 50% of their effectiveness in less than 3 weeks. General Horner has earned his reputation as some kind of super fighter pilot. McDonnell Douglas F-4G Wild Weasel. I'm going to just read the type and the primary function. Land-based strike fighter. Primary function: to find and destroy hostile radar emitters, especially surface-to-air missile systems. Boeing B-52H Stratofortress. Long-range strategic bomber. Primary function: to deliver massive amounts of explosives on designated targets from high and low altitude. Grumman F-14A Tomcat. Fleet defense fighter. To intercept multiple airborne targets in all weather conditions and at night. Panafia Tornado F Mark III. All-weather interdiction strike aircraft with reconnaissance capability. Primary function: low-level and high-level bombing and reconnaissance. Kinda looks like a fighter instead of a bomber. General Dynamics F-16C Fighting Falcon. Air combat and multi-role fighter. Primary function: attack fighter. Looks like a reconnaissance type plane. Boeing E-3A AWACS Sentry type airborne early warning and command aircraft. Primary function: an airborne radar station serving also as a command, control, and communications center with maritime reconnaissance capability. Lockheed F-117A Stealth Fighter. Single-seat night attack fighter. Primary function: to attack high-priority targets at night, such as enemy radar sites, to pave the way for conventional attack aircraft. Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt 2, close air support and battlefield interdiction aircraft. Primary function close air support tank buster. McDonnell Douglas AV-8B Harrier 2 V stall close support aircraft. Primary function attack fighter and close air support. McDonnell Douglas F-15E Strike Eagle air superiority fighter with secondary attack role. Primary function tactical strike fighter. McDonnell Douglas AH-64 Apache attack helicopter doesn't have a primary function. Grumman A-6E Intruder medium land sea based all-weather attack aircraft. Primary function attack bomber. That is the first set. Now we're gonna go to ships. USS Long Beach guided missile cruiser. USS Bruton frigate. USS Luce guided missile destroyer. USS Kitty Hawk multi-purpose aircraft carrier. USS Halsey guided missile cruiser. USS Charles F. Adams type guided missile destroyer. USS Oliver Perry guided missile frigate. USS Blue Ridge amphibious command ship. USS New Jersey battleship. USS Hermitage dock landing ship. USS Wisconsin battleship. USS Arkansas guided missile cruiser. Now we're going to armor. M113 armored personnel carrier. Primary function to carry out a combat squad in armored protect to a place just short of objective. LTV P7 landing vehicle tracked personnel Mark 7. Primary function to carry a combat squad in armored protection during an amphibious assault. MLRS multiple launch rocket system. Primary function to strike deep into enemy armored columns. The BMP-1 infantry fighting vehicle Iraqi. Primary function to transport troops to the battlefield or fight from the vehicle on armed reconnaissance missions. M2 Bradley fighting vehicle. Primary function provide the infantry with a means to protect tanks and consolidate gain in the offensive. M110A2 self-propelled howitzer. Primary function provide quick mobility to artillery support. LAV light attack vehicle. Primary function provide a combined arms element to a marine amphibious landing force. M551 Sheridan light tank. Primary function main reconnaissance weapon for armor infantry and airborne operation not employing the MBT. CSU-23-4 self-propelled anti-aircraft gun Iraqi. Primary function to quickly provide air defense where it is needed most urgently. T-72 main battle tank Iraqi. Primary function to destroy enemy tanks. T-62 main battle tank Iraqi. Primary function to destroy enemy tanks. M1A1 Abrams main battle tank. Primary function to destroy enemy tanks. TOW anti-tank missile. Medium long-range heavy anti-tank missile. Tomahawk sea-launched missile. Long-range air defense. M249 squad automatic weapon. Automatic firepower at squad level. Patriot firing. Patriot tactical air defense system. Medium to high altitude air defense against aircraft and missiles. Patriot tactical air defense system. Maverick anti-armor air-launched guided missile. Cluster bombs. Anti-armor scatter weapon. Tomahawk firing. Long-range air defense. MK-19-3 40mm grenade launcher. Automatic grenade firepower at battalion level. MK-83 top secret classified bomb. 84 Spigot anti-armor ground launch guided missile. Hellfire anti-armor air to surface missile.